Hey everyone, I'm Danny, and welcome to Muggle Magic. So one of my subscribers commented on a video a while back about Skillshare, a website called Skillshare, and they were asking me if I would ever be posting videos on Skillshare like a course on Photoshop. And while I would love to do that, I just don't feel like I have the time to commit to do that. But the comment did get me curious about Skillshare's service, so I looked it up and their service is actually really cool. In fact, they sponsored this video. And although the courses aren't accredited, which means they don't go toward any official school credit, if you want to go to college for graphic design or something, you can't get credits from Skillshare, but you can still learn a whole lot about certain subjects like creative arts, design. So this is only $10 a month for this service, and you get access to thousands of courses that you can just, take at your leisure for just as low as $10 a month. So that's pretty cool when you compare it to $100,000 tuition for a year. If you just want to learn, for instance, how to use Photoshop, or something like that, some program you want to learn how to do, you can take these Skillshare courses for $10 a month. And there are tons of Photoshop courses, and that's what I use to make all of my replicas. I primarily and pretty much only use Photoshop for this stuff. And before I get into this Photoshop tutorial today, I just want to say one last thing. The first 500 people to subscribe to Skillshare using my link in the description box below will get their first 2 months for free. So that's basically $20 out of your pocket. You don't have to pay. You can take these courses, and if you don't like it within those 2 months, you can just cancel. Or if you learn what you want to learn, you can just cancel. But like I said, the first 500, it's not for everybody. If you want to get in on that, you got to do it soon. So check out the link in the description box below. So thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video, making this video possible. Let's get into this Photoshop tutorial. So today I'm going to go over how I make some of my templates. This isn't an in-depth advanced tutorial on Photoshop. It's more of a beginner thing. Because these skills that I'm going to teach you here, there's a few tricks that I'm going to show you on how to piece together some scans. So if you scan something in and it's too big for your scanner, you have to scan it in multiple parts. I'm going to show you how to seamlessly put those together in Photoshop and get it ready to actually print out. What I have open here is few scans of the Mappa Mundi by Wiseacre's Wizarding Equipment, and this was Newt Scamander's map in Fantastic Beasts. So I have all 4 files open, and as you can see, Photoshop tabs every file that you open, so you have them all up here accessible to you. What I want to do is get them all into this same file. So to do that, I'm just going to have the file open that I want to copy. Do Control A to select all, or you can do Edit select all, and then Control C to copy, or Edit Copy, and then go back to the one you want to paste it into and Control V, or Edit Paste, and then you'll be able to paste it in. So I'm going to do that with all of these. So now I have all 4 images right here where I want them in the same file. So I can close these other scans that I have open. And now we're just going to piece this together into one large map. So in order to do that, I need to crop this image, basically make the artboard here that I'm using in Photoshop larger. So I'm going to do the crop tool over here, or you can click C on your keyboard. I'm going to zoom out, and I'm just going to make this quite a bit larger. And the color that shows up behind is actually your background color right here. So I have black as my primary and white as my secondary color. So that's why it's white. Otherwise, like if I were to switch these, you can see it would crop it to a black color, but I want it to be white. And this is probably much too large for the map, but I just wanted to give myself some room to work, and then I can crop it back down once I'm done. So as you can see, some of the scans here are upside down and some are not. Oops, this actually
Okay, so if you can look over here in the layers panel, you can see that all this white is actually part of this layer accidentally. So what I want to do is copy the background layer. There are two ways to do that. Actually, there are three ways to do that. You can Control J and it'll copy the layer you have selected. You can click and drag this down over to the new layer icon down here and drop, and it'll duplicate the layer. Or you can go to Layer, Duplicate Layer. And then if you do it this way, you can actually rename it, but I guess I'll call it Layer 0. And there we go. So now we can hide that layer, and I'm going to clear the background layer out completely. So I'm just going to do Control A and Control X. Control A selects the entire canvas, and Control X deletes what's inside that canvas. And if you're on a background layer, it will fill whatever it deleted with white because that's my background color. So now if I hide that, you can see there's nothing. So I'm going to get layer 0 visible. And what I want to do is delete everything except for this map scan. So I've just selected what I want to keep. I'm going to go to Select Inverse. So now it selected everything other than that, and then Control X again to cut. And again, you can do Edit and Cut that way if you want to. But the keyboard shortcuts make things faster. Yeah, you'll just work a lot faster. So I suggest that you learn the keyboard shortcuts. So now let's get a little closer in here, and what I want to do is piece the map together. So I'm going to make a guide so that I can make sure that it's straight across. So to do that, I can click here, actually have the move tool selected. I'm going to click and drag from the guide rulers at the top or the left if you're doing a left or vertical guide. So this will make a horizontal guide. And I can let go, and there we go, we have our guide. So now I just want to make sure that that is straight across, and it's slightly crooked. Let's see about the lines here, and yeah, I'm just measuring this up. Yeah, so it is slightly, very, very slightly higher on the left side. So I'm going to Control T, and that will allow me to transform the image. So it gives me this box around it, and I can click on any of these and scale it, do whatever I want to. If I hold Shift, it will scale it from the corner, from the opposite corner, and it'll maintain the aspect ratio. And if I hold Shift and Alt, it'll scale from the center and maintain the aspect ratio. But I don't want to do any of that. What I want to do is rotate. And if I hover outside, you can see it changes to, my cursor changes to a little rotation icon. So that's what I want to do. But I want to make sure that this corner, since it's perfectly aligned with this guide, I want to make sure that this corner is where it rotates from. So this always stays there. To do that, I'm going to hold Alt, and then I'm going to click right here in the corner, and that added this little marker here. So now if I zoom out, and if I rotate, that corner is going to be the point of rotation. So now I can zoom in on this side and make sure that lines up. And there we go. It's pretty straight across. Now just enter or use this check mark icon here to accept the changes. Next, I'm going to just piece this together. So just going to try and line this up. Probably going to have to do a little rotating on this as well. And an easy way to line things up is if I change the fill or the opacity and just bring it down a little bit, because then you can see the image underneath as well. So I can make sure that it lines up perfectly. And that's pretty close to perfect. It's not exactly perfect, but there we go. That, I believe, is pretty much exactly on top of the other. So there we go. So now I can change the fill back to 100%. So now we have half of our map pieced together. Let's do the next part. So this part's upside down, so we need to flip it. In order to do that, we're going to do Edit, Transform, and we're going to rotate 180 degrees. There we go. Now what we want to do is again change the fill. I'm going to put it down to about 80. Zoom in, and then we can just overlap it again. Make sure it all lines up. I'm actually going to change the fill again. I'm going to bring it down a little bit more so I can see the image behind a little bit better. There we go. That looks about right. I think this may need to be rotated a little bit. Yeah, it does. Looks like the part that's perfect is down here in Florida, where I was lining it up. So this is where it's perfectly aligned. So I'm going to just Control T to transform this layer. I'm going to zoom in on Florida, and I'm going to Alt-click to add a marker, zoom back out, and then as you can see, Florida is always going to stay the point of rotation. I'm going to go over to this other side here, and I'm going to rotate until they're pretty close to being lined up. So now that should have fixed the issue with them being somewhat disaligned or misaligned. Now I can bring the opacity or fill back up to 100%. And now we just have one more piece to add to the map, and then we're done. And that, of course, is layer 3. Whoops. Yeah, layer 3 right here. So again, Edit, Transform, rotate 180 degrees. And then we're going to go to Fill, set to 50. And we're going to pick a point. I guess I'll do Florida again, just to make sure it's all lined up. And I'm using my, yeah, there we go. That looks really good. And to move it just small amounts, I'm using my arrow keys on my keyboard. And it does look like there's some blurriness over here, which means that it needs to be rotated. So Control T, then I'm going to Alt and click on Florida. Then I'll go over here and get it to line up. Okay, there we go. Very close, maybe not 100% perfect, but very close. Okay, this looks a little blurry on this side, but we can fix that. So let's zoom back out, accept the changes, put the fill back up to 100, and there we have the full map pieced together. So now let's zoom in on it and see if we can see where any of these edges are of our different files. So right here you can see, just by hiding and showing the layer, that right there where it says Rocky Mountains, right there you can see that it's not quite lined up. But if we go this way, it starts to line up a little bit better. I believe when we get to here, it's going to be perfectly almost. Yeah, pretty much perfectly lined up there. So what we're going to do is mask out the parts that aren't lined up quite right. So with the layer selected that you're going to mask, click this icon down here to add a layer mask. Make sure you have the layer mask selected and not the layer selected. So select the layer mask. You need black and white as your colors. And then we're going to pick a brush tool. And we want the hardness to be all the way down. So that's right. And so you can see your brush tool here, and anything you color in is going to disappear. See? And you don't want to, I'm just doing this as an example. You don't want to make the whole thing disappear, but yeah, you can just color around parts that don't match up. And a good place to There we go. Let's just, also you can Alt and click into the layer mask and you can see everything that you've colored. So you can color in all the little white spots that you may have missed. Okay, there. So I've just gone through and made sure that everything is blacked out that didn't really match. So now I can just bring, if you switch your colors from black to white, and now you're coloring white on your layer mask, see? And anything that you color in white on this layer mask becomes visible again. So we can just make everything just up to that edge visible again. There we go. There we go. So now it should all line up pretty much perfectly. And if there are spots that don't line up, you can make sure that those spots are in the water areas in this map, because you can't really tell as much as if it were right across a word, like the Rocky Mountains. You could tell that that didn't match up. So now we're going to just clean up everything else the same exact way as we just did this. We're going to go to layer 2 here, which we can hide and show. You can see right there where it says Atlas Mountains, it doesn't quite line up right. So we're going to fix that with, again, a layer mask. In fact, you know, it might be easier. Let's try a different method. So you can just color things in with your layer mask. But if we just make sure that black is our secondary color here, make sure that you're clicked into your layer mask, so that Alt and click into it so that you can see what you're coloring, and then Control A and Control X there. Now, if we click out, that whole piece is hidden because the layer mask is completely black. And then maybe it would be easier to just color in what we want to keep. So I already have white selected, so I'm just going to color in just around here. There we go. So that looks much better. The word Atlas over there is no longer kind of, you know, weird looking. It all looks pretty nice. So this next layer, which will be my layer 1, you can see there are some imperfections over here that we should probably mask out. You can see there's like a line down here in this area where the color is just not quite the same as the color on this side. You can see. So we're going to mask that out too. So yeah, again, let's do the layer mask. Click in, make the whole thing black, click back out, and then we're going to color in what we want to keep, because that seemed to work pretty well. Okay, the trees right here look a little bit blurry, so I wanted to fix that. Okay, the rest of that looks pretty good. You can see where it says Rocky right there, in the Rocky Mountains part. That looks a bit blurry, and so do some of these mountains. So I'm just going to swap my color to black, and I'm going to fix that. So there is our map. So now what I like to do is keep all 4 of these layers intact. I'm going to select them all, and you can do that by clicking and then holding Control and clicking each one individually, or you can click on one, hold Shift and click the top one. It'll select everything in between. So now we have all these layers selected. We want to make a group. You can do that by clicking this folder icon down here to group them, or Control G will also make them into a group. So now we have this group, and I'm just going to call it raw map so that I know this is just what I've done. And then I can Control J to duplicate that group, or again, if you want to, you can click and drag it down to this icon to create a new layer, It's the same as creating a new layer, but it's creating a new group. Or duplicating, sorry, not a new one, but duplicating. So yeah, I'm just going to Control J to duplicate. Then I'm going to right click on the layer, or on the group, and I'm going to merge group. And there we go. So now it's all one image, one layer. And I just want to clean up the edges around here. So I'm going to select right up to there. And I'm going to hold Shift to add to my selection. I'm going to select right up to here. Hold Shift again, right over to there, and Shift again to select right up to this. So once we cut all that around there, the edges will be pretty straight, and it won't have the jaggedness or the gray parts around there once we're finished. Yeah, looks good. So now I'm just going to Control X, and that will cut all that out, and we should have a pretty perfect looking map. But now that we have the map to the size that we want it, we can just kind of crop it back down to the right size. And there we go. We have scanned in a gigantic map.
Remember, I get a lot of ideas for these DIYs that I do from your comments. So if you have an idea for something that you want to see me do in the future, definitely leave a comment below and let me know. If you're interested in seeing more DIY videos having to do with Harry Potter and more, go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Alright, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.